Hello, my name is Juan Perez-Chica, and I've decided to do my adolescent presentation on fictional character Josh Nichols from Nickelodeon's Drake and Josh. He plays a geeky 16-year-old kid in the television show who's inadvertently pulled into trouble by the mischievous antics of his immature stepbrother, Drake Parker, also 16. Here we get a good close-up shot of Drake and Josh. Josh, played by actor Josh Peck, is the one in the blue button shirt and the red undershirt. Initially, I was thinking about making this presentation about Drake, played here by actor Drake Bell, who's the other stepbrother and main character in the series. But I decided to go with Josh because I think he's more unconventional as a main character, especially as an adolescent on a TV show, and I felt this made him interesting. He's overweight and somewhat body conscious throughout the series. He's also not very popular in school or among his peers, unlike his stepbrother, and not very good at getting female dates, which disappoints him. The episode I selected is called Driver's License. In this show, both Drake and Josh prepare for and take their driver's test to get their California-issued driver's licenses. The setting of the series is San Diego, and the show often hints of this through the clothing they wear, the places they go to, the people they encounter, though there isn't much evidence of the city in this particular episode, except maybe the few scenes in which we see them taking their driving test. When this episode first begins, the brothers speak to the television audience, explaining why 16 is such a great age, because it's the age where they can apply for a driver's license and become men, we're told. Here it's insinuated that the stepbrothers see obtaining their driver's licenses as a rite of passage into greater freedom and elevated legal responsibility. They now have an opportunity to become men, they say. Both Drake and Josh see obtaining their driver's licenses as an important social rite of passage, as Chapter 3 in the Adolescent's textbook briefly covers. In this episode, there isn't very many peers that they encounter, except toward the end, when Drake goes out on a date with a female. Drake, we discover halfway through the episode, failed to get his driver's license because of the poor driving he exhibited during the driving exam. Josh, the adolescent I'm covering, did receive his driver's license because of his excellent performance during the driving test, even though he was far more nervous than Drake. His driving evaluator also appeared to be more strict during this episode. Anyway, the female and Drake are chauffeured to a restaurant by Josh, since he has a driver's license and permission to use their parents' car. The female, Drake's date, is thrilled to have this mobile freedom, and this clearly pleases Drake, who's all too happy to take advantage of Josh's legal privilege to drive. In a way, Drake, Josh's stepbrother, is also his friend and a peer, and late in this episode, Josh finds himself in legal trouble that Drake volunteers to help him with. But being the immature brother that he is, Drake blackmails Josh so that he can get rides to wherever he pleases. As long as we're on this topic of peer influence, we evidently get a sense in the series that Drake and Josh belong to different crowds. According to page 159 of the Adolescent's textbook, a crowd is an adolescent subculture defined by a common feature. I think if we were to label Josh, he would definitely fall into the geek crowd, because much about him emanates geekiness. He loves to watch movies. He works at a theater, by the way. He loves playing video games, and he doesn't have a girlfriend. Drake would probably belong to the populars crowd, since he's quite popular at school and has numerous friends and can easily find a female date for any occasion that might come up. Josh Nichols' family impacts him in this episode in several notable ways. We already know how Drake, his stepbrother, impacts him. Now I'm going to quickly go over how his stepsister, Megan, his father, and his stepmother impact him, since Chapter 4 of the Adolescent's textbook mentions that family relationships on this age group have a definite impact. Josh's young stepsister, Megan, is played by actress Miranda Cosgrove in the show. She typically plays the conniving and manipulative, if adorable, little sister. In this episode, we see this characterization in motion toward the end of the show, when Josh gets into legal trouble and Drake offers to help. Only overhearing part of the conversation they had, she barges into the room declaring that she will make it her mission to find out what kind of trouble Josh is in, evidently to get him into trouble with mom and dad. Josh's father on the show, played by actor Jonathan Goldstein, is definitely more encouraging and helpful to Josh and Drake. At the beginning of this episode, he's shown helping the stepbrothers prepare for their driving test. In this series, Josh's father plays a nerdy weatherman, and that definitely comes across in the show, but he generally plays a responsible guiding father and a strong influence. Josh's stepmother, played by Nancy Sullivan, has a huge impact on him in this episode. After he passes the driving test and receives his license, she lets him celebrate by driving her car to the store to get groceries. This made Josh very excited, and he tells his stepbrother Drake, who failed the driving test by the way, that he loves his driver's license so much that he simply can't stand it. I think it's safe to share that the parents have an authoritative parenting strategy with their children. They're not too strict and definitely not indifferent. And I think they both genuinely want what Josh and Drake and Megan to get the most out of life, while simultaneously enjoying it. You can see the influence of the media on Josh throughout the series. Josh, who's visibly overweight and doesn't have what most adolescents would consider an ideal teenage male body, is visibly body conscious throughout the show. That's not depicted in this episode, but it does get revealed in other episodes. Subsequently, this also leads to him being less popular than his brother and less lucky in the realm of dating. There are a few character traits, though, that clearly elevate Josh's self-esteem in the show. 1. He's more sensible than his brother, generally more intelligent, and concerned about his schoolwork. 2. He seems to be a can-do kind of guy, and we see this in this episode when he passes his driving exam. And 3. He's also a pretty decent dresser in the series, which is clearly an influence of the popular media. I think it's safe to draw that conclusion here, since the brothers in the show a consciousness of teenage fads throughout the different episodes. Fads are communicated through the popular culture and media. There we see a picture of Josh on the right with his stepsister and stepbrother seated beside him. Josh is clearly wearing some stylish threads, as you can tell. In this episode, after Josh passes his driving test and receives his driver's license, he drives his stepbrother to go have pizza to celebrate his accomplishment. He's simultaneously trying to cheer his brother up for failing to acquire his driver's license. However, on the way there, he's pulled over by a police car for failing to stop at a stop sign and given a ticket. One of the officers is played by Eric Estrada, who's in the picture there. Fearful that this fact will be revealed to his parents, since he doesn't have the money to pay for the ticket, his stepbrother Drake volunteers to pay the ticket for him. But as the episode winds down, Drake lets it be known that Josh will have to do favors for him to keep his traffic infraction from going public. In the series, Josh actually goes on to lose weight and gain more and more popularity with time, so we do see a general positive transformation happening with him.